All right, so Andy, we are, I guess, a year and a half into the new college football playoff tournament structure, and I know it could be changing, but I guess has it been a good thing or a bad thing so far? Are you a fan or not a fan of it so
Oh, I
far?
love the 12-team playoff. I don't want them to go any bigger. If they go 16, fine. I know they talked about that because that doesn't really add another round. It just keeps
Right.
it the same general structure. But don't go any bigger than that. Like this is good. I like the stress and the agita that it causes among the teams from 12 to 20 that still have a chance. I like the fact that if you win the Big 12 or if you win the ACC, even if you didn't have the greatest year, you're in. I think that's pretty cool. So I like this format. I thought four was too small. Like it's still the most exclusive playoff format in major American sports. Like the fewest number of teams get in, the lowest percentage of teams get in, and I think that's great. But it needed to be bigger than four. So this feels like the perfect number to me.
You know what I also think? When it was four, we really only talked about who was five, six, and seven, and maybe eight. Now
Yeah.
that it's 12, people are looking at who's 14, who's 16, who's 18. I saw on your show you were apoplectic that Miami's that much further down than Notre Dame. Is that the
Yeah.
biggest thing that jumped out to you?
Yeah, because why'd they bother playing the game? Like, if they're going to have the same record, and it's not like Notre Dame's played much better competition than Miami throughout the year. They haven't. Their schedules are fairly comparable, and they have the same record, and they played, and Miami won. How in the world can they be 8 spots apart? That makes no sense at all. And that's what bothers me. If you're going to do that, just simulate the whole season on a computer. Don't even bother playing the games. Because the results of the games need to matter at some point.
How much do you weight what happened recently versus what happened at the start
It
of the
all
season?
matters, Ross. It doesn't matter when you played it all matters. It doesn't, just because you played it in September doesn't give you a mulligan for losing.
I would agree, but wouldn't you agree if two teams are 10-2 and one
Mm-hmm.
of them lost the first two, won the next 10, the other won the first 10, lost the last two? Don't you think that there should be some nod given to the team
The
that's
team
playing better
that
late?
lost the first two, were those their only two really good games and everybody else was not very good?
I
Because
didn't
I
know
think
you
that
were a
kind of
Notre Dame
matters too.
hater. You hate Notre
I'm
Dame.
not. I love Notre Dame. I love Notre Dame. Will defend their independence till the day I die. Will fight anybody who says Notre Dame needs to join a conference. I love Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's a really good team. I think Notre Dame's probably going to wind up in the college football playoff, mostly because I think Miami's going to lose another one along the way, and Notre Dame's not. Like they're both gonna play Pitt, and maybe Pitt beats Miami and doesn't beat Notre Dame, but you gotta have results matter. You can't just say, well, it didn't matter, same record, whatever. They play like you have the ultimate evidence. What if they played? Well, they played.
All right, maybe the bigger question in college football right now is with all these guys getting fired, why has there not been any hires made yet? Like why hasn't Virginia Tech jumped
Mm-hmm.
on James Franklin? I mean, he would be, I
Maybe
live in
James
Pennsylvania.
Franklin's waiting for Florida State to open up. Maybe James Franklin wants to go coach at Auburn.
So you think there's a pecking order of available candidates and those guys are waiting until they see what all their options are?
Oh yeah, James Franklin's going to have options. If he thought his best option was Virginia Tech and Virginia Tech was offering him the job, he would have already taken it. But I think he's going to have quite a few options. So we don't know yet what all the options are going to be because we'll see what happens with Florida State. That's still very much up in the air. They're playing Clemson this week. If they won out, Mike Norvell would be fine. But if things go badly, that their fan base is itching for a change, even though it would be very expensive. Kentucky's another one. You know, Mark Stoops beat Auburn. That got Hugh Freeze fired last week. If they lose, to Louisville, if they lose to Florida, I don't think Mark Stoops is all that safe, even though he has the most school unfriendly buyout in the country of $37 million due within 60 days of the firing, all in one lump sum.
Wow. That's incredible. I mean,
Great
I'd
work if you
almost
can get
try
it.
to get fired at this point. That would be all right. So what about like I guess what's the value in firing these guys so early if you're not going to then make a hire? I mean, I live in central Pennsylvania. Penn State's losing recruits left and right. I thought the whole point of firing him early, if you're going to do that, was to get somebody else in there and rally.
But you're not going to hire somebody who's actually coaching another team right now. They're going to finish their season. So, like, who are you going to hire? You going to hire an NFL coach? They're just going to leave their NFL team? Like,
so then what's the – well, you can get Pat Fitzgerald.
You could get Pat Fitzgerald now. And I think he's one who has multiple options and is waiting to see where it winds up.
Could you agree like with an agent for a guy like Bob Chesney from JMU, but just not announce it, but kind of know that, hey, that's going to happen?
That has happened many, many times. That happened with Scott Frost when he went from UCF to Nebraska. And you fire the coach during the season to tell your fan base that you're making the change that they're clamoring for, to tell them you hear them. That's why you do it. A lot of schools do it because they see a ton of empty seats and they're like, oh God, the fans are not even going to come back this season if we don't do something and show them we care enough to make a change.
Do you think Curt Cignetti has kind of ruined this whole thing?
I don't think he's ruined it. I love it. I think he has broken every bad coach's excuse.
Well,
like every bad coach who makes excuses, you just point to Curt Cignetti and you're like, he can do it. Why can't you?
Right, but how much of that is I don't want to say fluky, because obviously they've accomplished.
It's not fluky at all.
Right, they've accomplished what they've accomplished. But I guess my point would be, you can't all be 12-0. You can't all be 11-1.
You can't all be 12-0, but you also can't be in year 3 or year 4 where your trend line is heading down, your trajectory is heading down, and you're saying, well, we just need more time to build. No, you don't. You know by year 2 if you made the right hire or not. You know.
Do you feel, though, Andy, like we should be at the point in college football, especially when I look at some of these SEC schedules and like who Florida had to play this year or who Texas has to play? I feel like, this is just my perspective, I don't think it should be as soon as you get a third loss, we're going to fire you when you have the schedule.
Well, Billy Napier was 22-23 in 3+ seasons at Florida. I'm a Florida grad.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, 500 football is not acceptable at the University of Florida. 3.5 years is more than enough time to get better than 500. Man,
so the way you're making it sound, this is going to be the new normal.
You either have standards or you don't. I mean, that's really what it is. Now, the Penn State one, yes, we can argue about that one all day because James Franklin was winning, was successful. But he wasn't getting them what they wanted. What they want are national titles. And if that's what you want, I'm not one to tell the consumer what they do and don't want. The Penn State fans want national titles. Now, getting that is going to be difficult. Like, I think the Penn State job, of all the ones open, is the toughest one to take right now because you will be judged against what James Franklin was doing, which means you'd better start winning double-digit games immediately. You'd better start competing for the Big Ten title and in the college football playoff immediately. It's kind of like when Georgia fired Mark Richt and hired Kirby Smart. He was in the national title game in year 2, great, but in year 1, when he was, I think he was 7-5 or 6-6, it was like, oh boy, what is this? So you have to succeed immediately if you're in that job. But like the Florida job, like he was not getting it done, so they fired him. Auburn, he was not getting it done, so they fired him.
Yeah, I guess it's a great point about landing spot because entry point means a great deal. Franklin, by all accounts, Andy, it was a top 10 program over the last 10 years. They just weren't top 5. Penn State believes they have the resources to be top 5. I guess, Franklin used to say this all the time, but I'll get your opinion. I'm not sure people realize how hard it is to go from top 10 to top 5. Because top 5,
he's exactly right.
It's Georgia, Alabama, it's Ohio State. Like, there can only be 5 in the top 5.
It's the hardest part. It's the hardest move. Dan Mullen mentioned that when he was at Florida, where he wins 10 games. He wins the Orange Bowl, and they interview him on the field after the Orange Bowl. And he said, it's that 11th and 12th They're the toughest step. And he was right. And I mean, he ended up getting fired at Florida. It is very hard. The places where they expect national championships, the margins are so thin, and they're going to make mistakes too. Because look at what Georgia did. They fired a really good coach in Mark Richt, and they hired an even better coach in Kirby Smart. That's not going to happen most of the time. Most of the time, the person you hire is not going to be as good as the person you just fired if that person's winning 10 games a year.